Now, as the flat season draws to an end and the jump season starts to arrive with exciting entries at Cheltenham in particular this weekend, I'm sure Jolly Nellerie owners are getting very excited indeed about a potential season over hurdles, over fences, who knows? But he gave us a little bit of promise and excitement last year. And of course, we all enjoyed the stable visits to see our boy as well. So please welcome Shane Quinlan to chat to us. Fresh from the front seat of his car after spending all morning riding out and on his way to Hereford to ride in the bumper in the last as well. First things first, Shane, welcome to Raceshare Monthly. And secondly, there's never a quiet day in racing, is there?
No, thanks for having me, Ross, first of all. Yeah, this part of the season is a very, very busy time for, I suppose, all national hunting yards. I've been schooling horses this morning, working them. Couple of entries next week, the first runs of the season. So things are in full swing now after doing all their road work in July, August time. They didn't get onto the gallops and they don't be long getting into the swing of things. And then all of a sudden this part of the season creeps up on you. And from next week onwards, hopefully it's going to be pretty busy.
Yeah, Venetia Williams, of course, has a first couple of entries the back end of this week at Cheltenham and Aintree. Just tell us what's changed, because the last time I couldn't make it to the stable visit a couple of weeks ago. So the last time I saw Jolly was at the end of the jump season, the start of the flat season. It was a beautiful summer's day. All the horses were off having a wonderful time, pottering about, drinking from the little lake and the paddocks and everything. It was a wonderful sight. So what's the difference between then and now? How does it start to ramp up in the yard?
So Venetia would normally finish her horses probably around Sandown. They did go a little bit later into the season last year, into May, just because the ground was still right for a few of them. But they were all finished kind of middle of May by the third week. They then basically get let down gently for a week on the yard and things like that. They stop riding out and then they go out to that the big park field that Venetia has, which is a lovely sight of, you got 40 horses in there. They potter around, some play fight with each other, drink from that pond that you were on about there, and just fill their bellies up on grass after a hard season in training. Before they get brought back in around the middle of July, which is when Venetia normally starts. Some trainers, like Paul Nichols, maybe a little bit earlier, like the 1st of July, but that's because he likes to hit Chepstow. Probably a little bit early for Venetia. The ground isn't soft enough by then, so she tends to normally wait a couple of extra weeks. But yeah, when they first come in, it's basically probably 4 weeks road work, getting them up to speed, getting their muscles working again, shed a few pounds of grass that they've put on during the summer, and just starting their fitness work, that they'll be ready to go onto the gallops and not have any problems with their canter work.
When you were saying, obviously, I think a lot of people have a rough idea of how it works and what happens at the yard in a morning. But you say you've been schooling horses this morning. Just talk us through your role and what for example, what's a typical day for you?
So normally in Venetia,
for you?
yeah, well, to be fair, because I go into a few different yards, things are quite different. But it's nice to see what trainers do differently to each other. Some have their own ways and different way to go about things. So from that aspect, it's quite nice to see how other people do it. Venetia's routine is normally, an easy start to the week on a Monday, just sensible canters. Step it up then Tuesday. Some horses start to work on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Once they're nearly ready to run, they'll have a couple of bits of work before they're ready. She doesn't tend to give them too much fast work. With the work we do kind of regularly during the week, it's enough that they gain quite a lot of fitness, around the sand, and the couple of fast canters they do up the wood chip gallop, that tends to get them ready, so they don't need too many proper fast bits of work before they're 100%. on a Thursday she normally schools them, which is kind of ideal for weekend entries. You can watch them school on the Thursday, and if they impress Venetia, then she thinks all systems go for the weekend. But if they maybe need another week or so, she'll hang on for a different race if they haven't pleased her up the schooling ground. And it'll be the same on work mornings. If she doesn't think they're ready and she has an entry in, she's quite good at reading. From watching where she parks up the gallop, she can tell an awful lot from there and how the horses are going each week. And she's quite good at placing a horse in the right race as well. So yeah, I'm in there Monday, Thursday, Saturday. So on most important days, a Thursday schooling morning, and then horses work on the Saturday. So I get plenty of different horses to ride on the days that I go in. So you get a feel for plenty of different horses, which is great. I don't ride the same ones all the time. So yeah, and then there's some horses that I don't even ride at all before I get on them at the races, because she obviously has a bunch of about 80, so it's quite hard to sit on all them before the season comes around. But yeah, other trainers then could just be riding out on the mornings that I make it in, or else sometimes they might hang off a little bit and think, oh, Shane's coming in, we'll have a busy morning schooling. So yeah, it changes each week. No day is the same. So it spices my life up a little bit by going into all these different yards doing different things, which is great. So it's a nice variety to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And how does that work in terms of you? Actually, like you said, sometimes you'll be booked for a ride for a horse that you've not sat on the back of before. How does that work in terms, because you are you're still claiming 3, is that right?
Yeah, I still claim 3. I got down from 5 last season, which was great, by riding a double at the Welsh National Trial meeting at Chepstow. So I would normally put Venetia before the other trainers I ride for, just because she'd be kind of my main employer, really my biggest yard that I'd ride for. And if I'm not riding for Venetia, then yeah, it just depends who I ride for would have entries, and if they've not got other jockeys booked. So it's a bit of a mixture. Like other trainers would have their own preferable jockeys or whatever, or owners would have a preference on what jockeys they'd like to use depending on who's available. So
and does Venetia think do they think, oh, this will be good for Shane? We need £3 off. We know Shane will get on with this horse, or is it just a bit more? Are you, like I said, are you in mind when it need a £3 claim, or when we need a horse that's particularly good round a track? There's a horse that's a little bit trickier, or what are your, or is it just a bit more trying to fit all the puzzle pieces in, because there's so many horses going to so many races, like you said, when you've got 80, the entries over the winter must be, and trying to get the jockeys booked at the right times must be quite tricky.
Yeah, it can be quite hard. It chops and changes. Like you could be jocked up one place, and then all of a sudden there's a change. Venetia might want Charlie to go somewhere else, so I might have to go to another meeting. So then I might miss out on other rides for other trainers that I was meant to have, and things like that. So it can be a bit of a tricky one. You're all fighting for rides, which is why you go into different yards and ride out. Some horses might go better for a different jockey depending on their style of riding or how you might handle that horse. So trainers might be keen to have you on the day it's running and things like that. So the majority of the time, kind of, the best horse wins. But then there are different horses out there that don't go so well for other jockeys compared to some others. So yeah, it's not always the case, but you would notice that some trainers would kind of be entering the horse in around if you could ride it or things like that, depending on what it's like and how well you can make it go. But thankfully last season a lot of the horses that I got on for Venetia and all ended up running reasonably well, and I got plenty of decent winners, which was great. So it raised my profile a little bit.
She doesn't waste many entries, does she, Venetia? It's not. It's some trainers, you get the feeling that you think, well, we're going to the races, we might as well run 6. But you get the feeling with Venetia that it is very, very selective.
I think she is quite picky, but she's not one where you'd see the same horse entered over and over again
Yeah.
multiple times before they'll run. I think she does a good job on that by focusing in on what race will suit the horse, one or two entries, and then going for that race. You know, a lot of other trainers would enter up in multiple places and then only run at the one place, and all of a sudden you got a load of wasted entry fees. So I think she does try and mind the owner's money and not, you know, waste too much of it. And she's very good at kind of pot picking and entering horses in the right races for decent prize money. You know, there's one horse I done quite well on last year, Desk Delil. He won over, I think it was 27,000 in winning 2 races and placing once as well. So, you know, that paid for his season. She does a good job with plenty of the others as well. So I think that's probably why a lot of people might send their horses to her. I know training fees aren't cheap, but she does a good job of placing her horses and getting the best out of them for the owners. So yeah, she's quite good at doing that.
A few things before we let you go, because like I said, you got to ride over at Hereford. But specifically, Jolly Nellerie, have you seen him since he's come back into the yard? Have you written work on him? Have you schooled him? How's he holding up? How's he looking? How's he progressed?
Yeah, he's good. He's not one that you'd miss on the gallops. You tend to pick him out quite quickly. He's a little chestnut fella that tends to cause Jess, the head girl, a little bit of trouble some days up the gallop. He's quite full of himself. He definitely looks a bit stronger this year, which is great. He's strengthened up and muscled up a bit. Last year he was just a bit of a frame of a horse, bit weak, small. But this season I think he's done quite well from his summer break, so he looks good. And yeah, you could almost say he's flying up the gallops. He goes up there at his own pace, tends to do things his own way. He's just a little bonny horse, you know. He's quite energetic in walk and trot. You think you could let a kid ride him, and the second he steps foot on the gallop, he says it's go time, you know, sit tight and hold on. And he just has his own way of going about things. But you know, he obviously ran the once last year. It was a good starting point around Haydock in a nice small field race with one other. You know, when you look at the other horse down the start that day, he was probably twice the size of Jolly Nellerie. So I think Jolly Nellerie was fancied on his French form, but probably just the soft ground that day, I think, and his shape and how he was at the time maybe just caught him out. But the other horse,
I would stand up, Shane. If what you're saying is that he was a frame of a horse a bit, it's because, you know, there's fitness and then there's race fitness, isn't there? And there's winning and I mean, some races around France, you know, you watch those hurdle races and they're impressive, but the front two are 30, 40 lengths clear, and you start to wonder just how good those are in behind. And then even a 2-runner race at Haydock in Britain is ultra competitive.
Yeah, it is. Like, you know, the other horse wasn't he wasn't no muggy. I think he was about rated 116, 120-ish. He'd run over here previous, and he actually had decent enough form. So, you know, on the whole, I know we got put in our place, but it probably wasn't a bad run in hindsight for his first run in Britain, considering racing in France is an awful lot different to what it is like over here. And I find that with the French horses that Venetia buys, it does just take them a season and a couple of runs before they get used to the racing over here. And then they tend to excel once they go chasing. For, you know, one reason or another, they tend to be good jumpers. But yeah, you know, I'm happy with how he is. He does look good. And a lot of the other horses, youngsters that we had running last year, you know, you can see the change that they've made during the summer by, you know, literally just filling out. They might not have grown 4 or 5 inches. They might have grown an inch or two, but they've strengthened out massively, which will help them an awful lot. And a few of them herders will go chasing. I'm not sure what Venetia's plan with Jolly Nellerie is. You know, maybe he might have another couple of educational runs in novice hurdles before he does go chasing. But you know, I think he made one mistake at the last at Haydock, where he was maybe just getting a little bit tired. But he does jump neatly enough that I think he'll take the fences down the line. So hopefully he can show his ability he showed in France and get into winners' enclosure and put up a couple of decent displays this year.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Well, we hope everything kicks off with a bit of success. Like I said, Venetia doesn't tend to get going till November, really. What are you most excited about before you go? If there's one thing that's getting you up in the morning ahead of the winter, what is it?
Going in to ride all the decent handicap chasers that showed plenty of potential last year. As I said, I rode a few Saturday winners. Jim Aron for the Bellamy Partnership. He was quite impressive last year up at Wetherby in a handicap chase. He improved, I think, 20 pounds throughout the season. I think he could go up a little bit more this season in some competitive handicap chases. Rode a nice horse, Easy as That. He won at Newcastle over fences. He's a dual bumper winner. I sit on Royal Pagaille the odd morning in Venetia's. If I ever got the opportunity to ride him on the track, I don't think I could hold back the excitement. But it's just horses like them, that have the class and race at the level that they do, that gets you out of bed hoping that you'll be there on them big Saturday races. And you never know. You just got to keep pleasing owners and show what you can do on the back of horses. On the big days, the opportunities are very hard to come by. So you got to take them when you get given them, and that's the main thing. But it's a very exciting part of the season. Things are at full swing now. All the horses are just around the corner from running. We don't know what we're going to be riding yet, but all we know is the horses are going to be fit and in good form. And, let's just hope that we have the season we did 2 seasons ago, where we had plenty of Grade 1 success and decent handicap winners. And, the yard deserve it. Everybody works really hard. Quite a happy team there. Everyone does a good job, looking after the horses, and it's great to see them being turned out in the fields when you're riding out. They go out bucking and kicking, and it's a great sign that they're happy in themselves, they're enjoying their work. And I know they might nearly get us falls by galloping around and galloping up to the fences we're walking past to try and say hello, but when they're all feeling well, it's a great sight. And we just hope that they can save all that energy and put it in on race day.
Lovely stuff, Shane. Well, and looking at the winners you rode last year, like you said, your Destilles, your Gemerons, Faranés and whatnot, it seems like you do have a particularly good record with French imports over fences of Venetia Williams. So hopefully we might see your name next to Jolly Nellerie in a 1.
Yeah, hopefully.
So, anyway, best look at Hereford as well. And it's we got a ride in the last in the bumper, and we hope the winter season treats you well, Shane.